17 newsmakers now, and our political analysts are joining us this morning to break down those numbers a little bit more. We have Kathy Abernathy on the right and Neil Sinapa on the left. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
All right, so Kathy, let's start with you. In the race for the 20th district, Kevin McCarthy's old seat, 35% said they were undecided, 27% supporting Vince Fong, 11% backing Mike Boudreau, and then 11% backing Marisa Wood. Was there anything surprising to you about the way voters are leaning so far?
Well, you know, the campaign's barely started for any of these candidates, and the people don't have their ballots, so I don't know how much attention they've spent just on this one race. There have been some ads. I think people have seen some television ads. But it doesn't surprise me that Vince Fong is leading strong, particularly with Kern County dominating the district, because he's represented it for 7 years in the legislature. I think people see him as an intellectual, academic. You know, he's not a headline grabber. Actually, it's very pensive, you know, studies the issue before he talks about it and tries to find solutions. So I think that's popular. Now, obviously, there's strong candidates in 2 of the other 3 counties, and they're going to be mounting a campaign. But overwhelmingly, I would hope that Kern County considers, we've had the congressman be from Kern and actually Bakersfield for about 50 years. So it would be good to keep it that way, because we have, our industries here are unique. The oil and ag is shared by the other counties, but I think that's real important that we keep that presence in Congress from Kern County, from Bakersfield.
Neil, was there anything surprising to you in those numbers?
Not anything too surprising. I think that the fact that there's so many undecided voters just speaks to the fact that, you know, a lot of people didn't expect this to be something that they would really be making a new decision on, right? And I think a lot of it, in general, I think Vince Fong would actually be doing better had there been a better handing of the baton by Kevin McCarthy months ago. But I think that you know, we'll just have to see who's able to, you know, raise money and really send mail in these next couple weeks to that 35% of voters, and they will likely, you know, go to the person who they probably hear from more, and then Kevin McCarthy obviously endorsing Vince Fong might help out, but that 61% of Republicans that were, you know, kind of unsure or, you know, questioning the decision of McCarthy to resign in the first place, maybe they feel like, hey, you know, maybe we shouldn't go with the guy that Kevin is backing. Maybe we should go with, I think it's Mike Boudreau was the second Republican in that polling. Yeah, so it's to be seen. It's really going to be up to what happens the next 3 weeks here.
Kathy, do you think that Assemblyman Vince Fong needs to do anything to shore up the 35% of undecided voters, or do you think that he's going to pull ahead and continue to lead in this district here?
Well, you know, they're undecided because they just haven't thought about it. Really, the ballots will hit in about 10 days, so they haven't even looked over it for those that are unsure. But I think that, I actually think that the situation will get stronger for Vince Fong as time goes on. I think what the survey shows more to me is that a lot of people are disappointed that Kevin's not in Congress anymore. And so I do think his endorsement means a lot, as the fact that others will be endorsing. But ultimately, the campaign's issues, I think, will be the most important. And I think that Vince Fong has a real good way of pitching so that people understand it. He doesn't just say headlines. He actually gets deep into it. But there's, you know, 3 strong candidates running. But let's hope, again, that we can keep it based in Bakersfield, Kern County.
Neil, we talked at the end of the story there about the makeup of CD20, nearly 50% registered Republican, Democrats making up 27%, and independents 18%. Do you see Democrats able to coalesce around one particular candidate, and that candidate then getting enough votes to advance to November?
You know, I believe the endorsed candidate is Marisa Wood currently. And I think that, you know, she's been on the ballot before. I think most Democrats will likely coalesce behind her. We'll have to see what happens when we get past the primary to see who ends up in this top 2. It's possible a Democrat could get locked out, you know, depending on how much money is spent by the Republican Party on both sides of their aisle, right? Or on both of the leading candidates on the Republican side. So it's really to be seen what happens with Democrats. This district is more red than it's ever been. It's more, you know, Republican than it's ever been, so it's going to be a difficult seat for Democrats to win.
So let's go ahead and talk about the issues that voters were asked about, what they care about. And the top concern for those asked, 29% said was immigration. That's been echoed in polls nationally as well.
Yep.
Do you think that the issues going on right now at the southern border, the new Senate immigration bill, do you think that President Biden needs that new Senate immigration bill to pass to help him in November with voters on the issue of immigration?
You know, I mean, I think that there's a huge mix there, right? There are people that feel like there is a huge humanitarian crisis at the border. There are folks that feel as if it is, you know, being blown to a proportion in which one side is using it to fearmonger. Right? They're using it to say, you know, a lot of people are coming into this country. You don't know who they are. We've had immigration in this country for a very long time.
We've had a record number.
Yeah, of course.
Under President Biden.
Completely understand that. But we've had immigration issues in this country for a very long time. The fact that we could get in a very long history about the United States and our foreign policy and how things have shifted south of the border to create hostile environments that force people to migrate. We could talk about a long history of that. I don't think that, I think President Biden is going to address the border because I think that people do have that concern and it is on their minds. But I think overall nationally, CD20 makes up a very small perspective of what the national presidential race actually is. When you look at California, I think most of Californians are probably going to stand behind and get behind President Biden.
All right, Kathy, really quickly here, because I have to ask you about the same thing, about the issue of immigration. It's top for voters in the CD20, and it's also top for many other voters across the country. How do you see this playing into November?
Well, let's look about it. We've had immigration in this country legal. We've had it for 100 years, and the laws were followed. Right now, since Joe Biden in, day one, Joe Biden said, hey, border wide open, come on in, and we're getting millions, when before we had 1 million a year appropriated for each country. So it's total in disarray. It's very hard to say that isn't the #1 issue. My goodness, we're seeing criminals, drugs, and then hordes of people who don't look like they're escaping something. They look in pretty good shape, but it's just taking advantage of this country and the taxpayers that provide services, schools and everything else. Is that what we're all supposed to work for, is create more and more welfare for people to just plow in here without any roots, without any education, and now America's supposed to take care of them. I think it's a very big issue this year. I think that President Biden could lose the election just on that. Now he's trying to address it, but for goodness sakes, a little late. 3 years of this.
Oh. All right, Kathy, Neil, thank you both so much for coming in this morning. We appreciate it. We'll be right back.